We have got Tim's Stat Deep Dive. Connor Tracy, the man of the moment. I'll tell you what, he was getting a few cheers at the Newmarket Hotel the other day. Boys, absolutely loving his work. Talk to me.
Yeah, firstly, good to see Kat really buying into the intro nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
I love this one. I'm excited to talk about Connor Tracy. I think you flagged him in our Super Pods a couple of weeks
back.
back.
I after that episode, I went home and I looked at him again and again and again, and I thought, it's a bit rogue. It's probably too rogue for me. Fuck, would have been nice on the weekend.
You absolutely would have done it. He would have been your, if the fixture's set up right and everything fell in place, he would have been your Tolotau Cola last year in the last few rounds.
Yeah.
167 points against the Broncos in a masterful display, some would say. 615K. Season average, okay, but we break it down to his games at fullbacks without any... I don't think there's been actually injury since he moved to fullback, but 10 games at fullback for the Doggies this year for a 68.7 average. The Doggies have a really soft run home. Their attack, as of last weekend, is genuinely the best it has looked in many a year. Mate, you go through his scores and, like, statistically, I mean, those numbers are good around fullback, but they're also boosted by that 167. Prior to that, he had scores of 34, 62, 43, 108, 49, 59, 37, 57. They're not great. Statistically, it's a no. Eye test, gut feel, everything about Connor Tracy in the Dogs right now says he is a huge pod option for the run home.
Yeah, I love him as a footballer. I think he's an absolute gun. We were calling for him to be the fullback at the start of the season there. Big fan. Statistically, those numbers really worry me a little bit more than I thought they would. As you said, mate, you take out the 167, you're looking at 3 games in his last 5 where he goes sub 50. There are a couple of low scores in there. You know what I find really interesting about that game on the weekend, Timmy? I'm not quite convinced. Like, I know the Bulldogs are a very good team, yeah, don't get me wrong, but I'm also a little bit unsure how bad the Broncos are at the moment. That's my thing. I'm very interested to see how they go against the Titans this week. As I said, I mentioned Connor Tracy the other day, got a little bit excited about him, but I don't think I could do it. I think it just would take way too much courage. But, mate, take the Kohler example last year. You got to make plays at the back end if you want to have a crack at this thing. And if the Bulldogs are in form, they don't have a bye to come, they might rest in the last week. That's my worry. If they're potentially in the top 4, or, you know, the other thing with Canterbury is they might have a home final week 1 locked in, being 5th or 6th. They're meant to go to North Queensland in the last. Oh no, North Queensland are coming here. Okay.
I don't. Just the way their draw pans out, I don't see them. They should be in the top 8. I see them playing for a top 4 spot, or at least being in the hunt that round 27. In saying that, it could pan out that they're just locked into 5th or 6th, couldn't it? Where they could. Regardless, there's lots of ifs and buts and coulds and this and that. So who knows? Yeah. We don't even know if Geraldo would want to rest him at all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. And I'll be honest, I'm not even super tempted, but I genuinely believe, and if I had big kahunas about me, I think he can average 75 on the run home. But yeah, I do. And I think he can be a serious pod play with that dual CT dub fullback status. So not for me, but I like him as a flyer.
I mean, Manly Cowboys last 2 weeks at home, they're the only top 8 sides they play over the next few weeks.
They could also rest players depending on where they're sitting in that top 8.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, God, I hope the Cowboys don't.
Like the Cows and Manly are both every chance to be around that 5 to 8 mark without any ability to move. So, I mean, all 3 of those teams, Dogs included, are around there. So, yeah, not for me, but, mate, I think there's a play there.
Mate, Reuben Cotter is obviously out this week. Got knocked out last weekend. Chasing Tamalolo out for a couple of weeks, a month or so, as we said. There's minutes up for grabs there. He plays big minutes already, but I think it'll just see an uptick in base stats, won't it?
Yeah, Tamalolo out. Not going to hurt him at all. Certainly help. He's one of the most sold players this week. He's dual front row forward, 2RF. Obviously played the 20 minutes for 10 points on the weekend with that head knock. I just don't think he's a sell at all. And let's go through his recent scores. 63, 103, 67, 51 and 65. We chatted again a little bit about him last night, but his season average of 60, that's brought down by even reduced minutes sort of at stages throughout, probably in and around Origin, but he's playing big minutes. In those last 5 games, he has base of 45, 68, 63, 48 and 61. He's doing a huge job. The Cowboys, as we said, they're going to be playing for if not a top 4 spot, at the very least, top 8 spot. I think he's going to keep playing big minutes. I think he's a hold.
I wonder if people, and I don't, do you have him, Kat, or do you used to have Reuben Cotter?
Sorry, turn my mic off.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, I never had him.
You never had him at all?
No, but he's a player that I used to have in fantasy.
Right,
and
okay.
he was.
I thought you had him.
No.
Mate, the only thing I can think of people selling him, there's 6 games left. He's not going to play 2 of them. He's got a bye to come. He's obviously out this week. So from that point of view, people might be going straight to Angus, in which case I can understand.
Yeah, actually there was a question on that last night. If he's your ticket to Angus via Jules, I'll get around that.
Yeah.
I think there'd obviously be a lot going to Payne Haas.
Yes, yep.
I like, it's an upgrade. I think you'd want to have trades, though. I think it's somewhat of a luxury trade because
that's fair.
Even then, he misses this week. He's probably going to be a lot of people's in your top 2 front rowers. But I think by this stage, most people should have a combination of like Samuel Afinu, Josh Curran, Terrell May, playable options. So he could easily be a third one that you just sit this week. Like I've got 3 strong front rowers or strong enough. I don't want to play the third one at all in the run home unless I have to.
Yeah.
So you just sit him this week and for the bye.
I think the other advantage he's got, he's obviously not playing this week, but then he plays, his next 3 games are all in North Queensland. Broncos, Raiders, and then the Melbourne Storm. He's got the bye there. I actually think, back to our point before about guys could potentially rest in round 27, I refuse to believe that Todd Payton will have a bye in round 25, rest in round 27, play 1 game in a month before finals. I don't think that'll happen. So you might have bent my rubber arm here just quietly, mate. Not bad. Reuben Cotter, don't mind that at all. Jeez, wouldn't he have been a good pick if you sort of plucked him out of nowhere when he was a young bloke and tipped him? Anyway, Scotty Sorensen, good-looking rooster, my God, and had a great game on the weekend. I believe he's carrying a little bit of a shoulder injury, Scott Sorensen, but I don't think it's too detrimental at the moment. He's always just the one that got away, Scotty. I'd love to have him at one point just for shits and gigs.
If he wasn't, how many has he strung together now in a row? Because he had those, obviously, injury concerns early and says he came back just before Origin. If he'd come back a little bit early and he was fully fit and there wasn't those injury concerns, I flagged at the start of the year that I wanted him for the Origin period, but then he was injured and didn't come back until round 11, just before the Origin period started.
Yep.
I've wanted to own him the last 2 years. I just haven't found a way to do it. His numbers are good, mate. So he's had 9 games of 70 minutes plus this season. Since round 12, so he came back round 11. Since round 12, he's been back to that 70 minutes, 80 minutes in 6 of those games. In 9 70-minute games this season, he's averaging 62.6, which is very solid. 2 of those games were his first game back from injury. 47 in base in that period. Just about every single one of those games was without Nathan Cleary, which is huge. I know they're different edges, and on top of that, I think minimum 2, possibly 3 of those games were without all the Origin players. Actually, it would have been at least 3 of those games without Origin players. Yeah. So you're now putting back in a full-strength Panthers team, which was the first time basically since round 11 that's happened. He scored 92. He had 53 in base, scored a try, a bunch of attacking stats, and he's also 554K. He's affordable. I like the Scotty Sorensen. I like Penrith for the run home.
Yeah, and I one thing I noticed on the weekend, Timmy, they love to turn him under.
Yep.
They just kept doing it. As someone that had Casey McLean in draft, I was waiting for him to get the ball, and they just went to Scotty all day. They love laying that line out there.
He could produce a lot of attack on the run home.
And him coming back against the grain, he's one of the best in the league at it. He's lethal. I like that. Scotty Sorensen, very good. I would put him up there as top 5 best eyes in rugby league.
Only top 5.
Top 5. What are your thoughts, Kat? Scotty Sorensen. Do you know the head I'm talking about?
Of course I do. It's funny. Do you remember back in the day, i.e. the start of the season, we did that video where I bleeped out who my number 1 was in the end. What I think should have been the top 100.
The hottest
number
100.
1 in the hottest 100. And everybody thought I said Scotty Sorensen.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a very good looking rooster, Scotty Sorensen. I think he's is he married? I think he's married to Chad Townsend's sister.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's some correlation there.
Big Chad guy.
Big Chad guy. All right,
Anyway.
last one. Jack Howarth. We've come off the back fence for the big fella, but my God, he is delivering now. Really good to see.
Took a long time, didn't it, after
Yeah.
signing that big money contract with the Melbourne Storm a few years back, and he's just come in and he's seemingly unseated Remus Smith in that Storm outfit, among others. And look, it's not a buy one, but it's probably one more to flag for next year if he can lock down the spot. Now that he's played a stack of games at centre, I'd imagine he'll probably get dual CT dub 2RF next season. And just one that got away, and not in a negative way. Like, I don't think anyone could have touched him because of his job security issues there. But he's just come in. He's averaging 62 points since he's locked out in the last 5 games. Since he's locked down that spot, he's risen 212K. He's got a break even of 3. Said way too late now, but anyone that did, for whatever reason, back it and jump on Jack Howarth, he's just chipping away nicely.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously now gets Cam Munster back inside him. Absolutely massive. So, yeah, he's going to be an interesting one next year, isn't he? I can see him getting dual position next year. I see him getting overdrafted and then Belly doesn't pick him round 1 again. That'll be good fun to watch how that plays out. But doing great things, Jack Howarth. All right. Any more on the deep dive, mate? Or are we done and dusted?
We're done.
All right.